So hello, my name's Rob. This is Cat Rabbit Scan Model Studios. I will just wait a minute until it comes on my computer, as I'm never quite sure if I've started too early or I've cut the intro off or anything like that. And today, oh, I think we're coming on. There we go. We're there. We're at the desk, and today we're going to be looking at the brand new Flesh Eater Courts Battletome. Once again, this was provided very kindly by Games Workshop, who sent me the army box. If you haven't seen the video, check out the video. I'll leave a link in the description after this live ends, or pin comments or whatever. I did touch on this Battletome very, very briefly in that video. However, I did want to sit down and go through it. And I had a few people fire some questions over me, and I thought, you know, we're nearly there on the eve of the new Flesh Eater Courts going up for being available. Sorry, they went on pre-order, I think, on the 2nd, and they go on sale on the 16th. It's a really lovely box set. They really are. I've actually got some of the dudes that I painted up here with me. As you can see, I've got some of the new Kryptonites, I think they're called, with their lovely flailed skin banners. We've got the new Vargelf Courtier, which was an absolute joy to paint up. He was so much fun. Really, really had a good time with this guy. So glad that he got redone. And then, I'll see, how could I resist some of the Morbeg Knights? These are, I think, my favourite of the new units. I just love them, little ghouls with feral bats. I think that, you know, it's great. So, you know, we're going to have a look at them. If you do have any questions, just fire them in the chat. I can always go back a couple of pages and do it, but obviously I'm just going to kind of breeze through. Or if you just fancy rewatching this from the future, hi YouTube from the future, or the past, I'm not sure, just, you know, it's all going to be there. So the book itself, once again, it's great. It's a great looking book. Okay, this is the special edition one, which comes with the army set. It's all done in the lovely gold kind of edging, and it's just got this really great what they think they look like and what they actually look like, and I love that. And the book itself, as you'll see as we go through it, is written from a really kind of unique perspective. I think it's probably one of the better battle tomes that Games Workshop's made. But it says here, the cannibal courts emerge from the shadows, hungry for both flesh and glory. Very, very fitting. It's a great book. I actually had a really, really good time with this book, and there's a lot to go through. What I'm going to do is pop these here, so if I do have to lay it flat, is get the shine of the lamp. As we open it up, you can see we've got this. It's full of lovely artwork. The artwork, once again, I think it is stunning in a lot of the Age of Sigmar stuff. 40k, you know, they really do capture a really good scene. The artists, I do wish they could just put their names on it so you could find out more from them. It's a shame they don't, but anyway. So, and obviously starting, we come through a little bit here. I'm not going to go into this. This is just in all of the Flesh Eater Court battle tomes. This is just a little synopsis about the Carrion King and about the delusions they have. Once again, not interested. I don't want to go for absolutely every minute detail of this book, as you know, if you want to watch it, it's nice to kind of go through this stuff and get it for yourself. You know, it's exciting. So, you know, I'm not going to be, you know, ruining any spoilers or anything like that. But you can see here, contents. You've got your kingdoms, your grand courts, a little bit about everything. There's a really, really good section about building your army as well, which we'll touch on. Then, you know, we'll get to all the data sheets and stuff like that. So first up is a little bit, obviously, like they always do, about the faction. One thing I really, really like about this battle tome, as I've just said, is it's written kind of half from the perspective of how they see themselves and half of how they actually are. So you'll kind of get this really, really great dual kind of writing style, which I really, really do like. I wish Games Workshop would be a bit more creative and take some more chances and do some different things like this. It's all edged in this really great kind of grotesque bordering onto, like, you know, royal pillars and things like that. But it is a really, really good, you know, how they write things here. The veneration is instead given to their beloved feudal overlords, and above all, Acheron himself, as these vampires perform deeds of heinous valour upon the field. The subjects are filled with warrior fervour, boiling from the darkness to fight the liege's side. But there's a the enemy views as Brutus cursed to be slain by valorous knights. So that's just how they see themselves. I said in my video, once again, I love the tragic backstory of the Flesh Eater Courts. It was an army and something that really did captivate me when I first got into kind of building armies and stuff like that. And this is no different. All the best stories have a hint of tragedy, and these have just the right amount for you to kind of really take a liking to them. One thing I like about these guys as well is, depending where they are, they either kind of revere Nagash as, you know, the one true god, or they absolutely despise him. And I like that, because it shows that they're not 100% with the faction they're aligned with, which once again I think makes for some really good storytelling. So again, the artwork, you see some of the new niches here, the Gore Warden, as you can see here, and some of the Crypt Knights. We've got a Terrorgeist being ridden over there. Ghouls riding bats, fantastic. Here we've got a little bit about the Carrion King. Once again, it's all very artsy, it's all very nice. These little kind of peppered with little bits of, you know, like thumbnails and doodles, and I like it. I wish, once again, more Battletomes would replicate this. Then we move over into the Emperor of Delusion, which obviously their delusions and things like that. Obviously referencing Lord Liverbelch here and stuff like that. The Decree. Once again, I'm not going to go into too much of this stuff unless you want me to. We've got to here now to kind of go through it. I'll be honest with you, it's not a big codex. I think it's only about 70 odd pages, and we're on page 12 already. The domains, this is a little bit about their nests and where they kind of congregate and how they see it. There's some really interesting tidbits later on in the book with some of the units and how they're kind of vassaled into, you know, where they are and where they're from and what they do and things like that, which is really, really cool. A little bit about the hunger, how it affects them, how it affects other people around them. And then you move into, you know, their kingdoms. You've got like the Summer Keep here, and as you can see, Knight of the Brimley Font, Huntsman's, the Grey Fang Court. There's, you know, they are all peppered up. I love a good map. I love a good map because it makes it feel like the world is an actual real place. And one of the gripes that I've always had with the Mortal Realms is that it sometimes feels to me that it's always just war, 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 and that nothing actually happens there. Like, people don't actually live there. So when you see stuff like this, which have started to add in, I really like. I think once again, it's a. I just noticed Shadespire right down the bottom here. Hey, you were great. It makes it feel like a bit more lived in, that you can actually picture these little outposts being attacked, and to me, it actually builds a better game and helps you build a better narrative, which I definitely do appreciate. Moving on, the Crimson Chronicles. This is a little bit about their history, from the Carrion King, Acheron's flight. It's good. Once again, if you wanted to kind of pause now, or, you know, if you want any screenshots, drop me a message in the comments. If you're on Instagram, I'm more than happy to PM you some pictures over of anything you need to see or anything like that. For those that are, you know, not here or miss this or whatever. And then we move on to the households. These are some of the more renowned courts and things like that. Once again, this great Arch Regent there. And we go into the Grand Courts. Once again, we've got the Morgan, the Hollowmorn, the Blister Skin, which is a really, really cool burnt ones on top. I really, really like these. And then you've got the Gristlegore, which is probably my favourite. I've done mine, Gristlegore, because they're just very, very ferocious. So I do like these. However, Blister Skin, I think, are probably a really, really good firm favourite. Hollowmorn's cool. In actual fact, I think all these houses are quite cool. I think Gristlegore, I love the name. I think it's great. now we go into a little bit of history of the individual units. So here you've got the new big bad, Usharan, the Mortarch of Delusion. Once again, we've seen the model. If you haven't, don't worry, you're going to see it later on. There's a lot about him here, how he's come back and what he's been doing and stuff like that, which is great. Then you've got a little bit about the heraldry of the hierarchy, not heraldry, that's the word I'm looking for. So you've got your sovereigns and your archregents that are just beneath the, you know, the king himself. Then you've got your grand justice, the Gormains. You've got your heralds, you've got your cardinals, and you've got your wardens as well. Really, really cool. I like where they've gone with this. It's kind of really delusional, dark fantasy kind of. You know, you see the judges with the intestine wigs, and you know the bishops with the bone hats on. You know, it's almost like playing dress up with what you've got, and they've done a really, really stellar job. They really have. So here we start with the Grizzly Court. Now this comprises of courtiers, Cryptghast ones, Cryptghast Haunters, which are obviously the little tiny ones. You get the Infernal Courtiers, your Vargelf Courtiers. They're really, really cool because I actually believe that they're just like saints, but they're not. They're just rabid monstrosities that are so feral and frenzied. But they make them out to be like some super divine paladin. It's great. I love the whole kind of delusion about it. Royal Decapitators. I wish, do you know what? It's one that I wish that was in the box. I would have rather had a Decapitator than a Gore Warden, but I think I'll definitely be picking one of these up. These are great looking models. And one thing I really can appreciate with this range refresh is the duality it has with the Six of Sigmar as well, which is another great range. They really do mirror in design choices, a lot of them. I can really appreciate that. So then you've got your Crypt Guard. These are the Crypt Ghouls that have done a little bit better than the rest, and they're kind of thrown in, you know, what they would class as an armory. Well, it's not, it's just a dung pile covered in absolute crap. And they pick out like a gauntlet or a knee pad because they're just ghouls, they don't really know what they're doing. And they pick up like these weapons, which they believe to be like shining swords and are these fantastic, beautiful, you know, pieces of weaponry. When it's not, it's just rusted crap that they've been able to get. And in a sense, is actually a lot worse because they're so riddled with disease and, you know, plague that getting hit by them is just as bad as probably getting hit by a clean blade. So yeah, they're quite cool. They're one up, if you will. And then once again, moving to my favourite, the Morbeg Knights. These are really interesting. Now you've got the knights themselves on top. Once again, I've got one I've painted here. These are kind of like Crypt Ghouls. Once again, they've done really, really well. These little bat things are actually called Night Shriekers, and I'm gonna raise up a small complaint I have with these. As much as I love them, not so much with the models, but with a little bit of the book. And they literally, these things are so feral that they'll seek them out, the Crypt Guard, and then what they'll do is they'll basically, you know, be promoted to a knight, and they think they're going to gather up these really, really cool noble steeds, when it's not. It's just this cave full of these Night Shriekers, and they're so kind of ferocious but like hunger starved. Most of the Crypt Guard that kind of be like, yeah, you know, go get your noble steed, they walk in and they're literally torn to pieces by these Night Shriekers. And what actually happens is they become so like starved and frenzied. What the Night Shriekers actually end up doing is, after killing like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people that have attempted to kind of tame their noble steed, they kind of work out that in actual fact, hang on a minute, if I let this guy ride me into battle, I'll get to go and kill more stuff and eat it. So they almost, in a sense, work out that by having the rider ride them, it will actually benefit them and their hunger. So they've kind of like, everything they do is really kind of boils back to just being absolutely, you know, a frenzied, hungry ghoul constantly. And they've got a really, really cool fleshed out kind of like story on here, which is, it's really, really cool. But they believe different delusions kind of don't see them as these kind of like skinny, disease-ridden bats. They think they're like Dracophians and reptilians, and it's really really cool. There's some really cool stories and some. I'm not normally a lore guy, I got to admit, but I read quite a few of these and I had a good time doing it. It really helps paint a really cool picture. Then you've got your standard crypt ghouls, your crypt horrors, so these big guys with clubs and stuff like that. Your flayers, your royal beast flayers. Here we've got the lovely grisly pageantry. Now, I don't know about you, but that's a fantastic looking little force there. There you can see the cardinal there, and you've got some of your horrors and your night shriekers coming in here. Really love all this type of stuff. These are your crypt guard once again with their once again just it's got like a hand on the end. That you think he's like waving some flag in the honor of some saint, and he's not. He's just got like a ripped up flayed bit of skin attached to a pole. It's crudely nailed to it. It's great. Here you can see the Marrow Scroll Herald. This was the one from Geron's delegation. I don't think he's available separate yet. Once again, I really like this guy. He's got some cool rules as well, so we will kind of go through that. And here you can see Usharan in all his glory. I don't know about you, but as soon as I saw that, I was like, wow, that is an absolutely spectacular model. I think one of my favourite bits is all the robes just dragging over everything. He looks like a rabid, mad bat king. And that's really what they are. These are just vampires, but with rabies. Here you can see some of the Grand Court down here. You've got your bishop, you've got your decapitator. Don't know what it is about him. I really like his pose. I think he's going to be a very cool painter's choice model. Crypt Flayer, then you've got your Gore Warden there. Once again, I haven't painted mine just yet, but I will get around to doing it as I really want to have a crack at his very fancy tactical rock. Really, really like this model. I don't know, he's got a bunch of keys. It's got all the keys apparently. Very cool. Hollowmorn, here you can see some different examples. The blister skin, obviously they're a little bit burnt. You've got your Gristle Gore, which are the little blue ones I'm doing, and then your Morgan Crypt Guard, which are the more pale ones, which are very, very cool once again. I think the pale ones definitely very aesthetically pleasing on the battlefield. Definitely one that I can see a lot of people doing, quite easy to do as well actually, that pale skin, which is nice. Moving over here, you can see some of the Morbeg Knights once again. One thing that's really, really cool, I actually did get one because I wasn't going to build the captain at first, but they've got these cool heads, and these are a great size. If you're doing something like Skaven or the new Gorgeous set, these heads perfectly scale with that slightly bigger model. People are going to do some great conversions with these. Even I've got a few ideas brewing for some cheeky kit bashes, but we'll that's something for another day before I get too carried away. Here you can see we've got some in they're in the more kind of traditional Crypt Flayer scheme here. They're a bit more paler. You've got the really cool dark coloured ones. I don't know what house that is. I don't think it's listed. I think it's just like a, but you've got like the big black bat with bone type wings and all their bits. I love them. I think they're great. And just seeing scenes like this down here with all the crypt ghouls just swarming, and that's exactly what they do on their massive pile of dead bodies. I'm not sure what that is converted there, but I wish that was the scenery piece. I think that's pretty damn cool. And then you've got some more lovely atmospheric shots here. This one, he's just standing on top of his little hill with his intestine wig, telling people what to do, barking out the laws. I think it's great. It really is. This was the Warcry Warband. These are with the Offal Hounds. Would have been nice to see these released in a little squad. That would have been quite cool. Maybe just a squad of 3 or 5 would have been quite cool. But nice that they go with the Beast Flayers. But would have been nice to see, much like the Sabertuss of Ogres, been able to run these as odd little ones. Little screening units would have been really, really good to really aggravate people. One thing the Flesh Eater Courts can't do is take a hit very well in some instances. So having these little screening units to pop up and really annoy people, I think, is a really good ploy for these. Once again, here you can see a bit of a scene here, a bit of a court with Usheran in the middle there. Not quite a royal menagerie, as there's only the dragon and the terror geese. But once again, a great looking scene. Really do appreciate the what the design team do with them when you see them all like this. I think they look, you know, really, really cool. I like the gore warden on the shelf back here. Marks for that. Painting guides. Now this one has a really, really good painting guide. I think it's quite beginner friendly, which I think is really, really nice. And I'm not going to say that I like it a little bit more because I chose to use that Hollow Gloom. I've had it sitting up here for ages. That's how I ended up doing my skin, and I was like, oh, that's how they do theirs, which is really, really cool. But it tells you how to do, you know, the Hollow Maw, the Blistered Skin, the Morgan, and then the Gristle Gore. So your 4 main grand courts are completely covered. Nighthaunt Gloom, that's the colour. Nighthaunt Glooms. And then you've got some alternative. You've got some dark skin tones, some bruised skin tones, all the way through to wings, fur, chivalric heirlooms, which is really just bits of bone. That's all it is. It's just bits of bone that they believe is some sort of fancy artifact. But there's quite a bit here, as you can see. You've got like bruised flayed flesh, light flayed flesh, fine embroidered mantles and rotten flayed flesh, fresh meat. You know, there's quite a substantial bit here. Tarnished weapons, which is really, really cool. This would be a great way of doing, you know, some dirty metals. Brass armor, gold armor. So next you go into kind of, you know, building, you know, your army, your battle packs that you need. 4 different grand courts to choose from. It's again fairly easy, fairly straightforward. You choose your units. Obviously everyone has access to everything. You can just run them as is. Obviously you've got your battalions, you've got your enhancements as well, which obviously wizards and priests and things like that can take. So we're going to go through this. So the allegiance abilities, as we start to move into the more interesting side of things. So Flesh Eater Courts gain the keyword or sub-faction you picked and can use the allegiance abilities for that sub-faction. So they have Deathless Courtiers. When Flesh Eaters linger in the shadows of their stronger kin, their sundered flesh heals an instant. Friendly Flesh Eater Courts units have a ward of 6 up. Of their noble deeds. Each time a friendly Flesh Eater Courts hero successfully casts a spell but it's not unbound, give 1 noble deed point to that hero. We'll get to noble deeds in a minute. Each time a player chanted by a friendly Flesh Eater Courts hero is answered, give 1 noble deed point. Each time a friendly Flesh Eater Courts hero fights, after all of his attacks have been resolved, give the hero a number of noble deed points equal to the number of wounds or mortal wounds caused by the hero. So the more damage your hero does, the more noble deed points you get. Each Flesh Eater Court hero can have a maximum of 6 noble deed points at any one time. So it's worth it that there is a limit to them. Feeding Frenzy, add 1 to the attacks characteristic of melee weapons used by friendly Flesh Eater Courts units while they are wholly within 12 inches of any friendly heroes that have 6 noble deed points. So really it kind of encourages you to kind of fly in, attack, get those points, retreat, send your bigger units in and literally let them sit there with those extra attacks. You start getting blocks of Crypt Ghouls and Crypt Guard together with the extra attack, and you know what, that soon mounts up to a hell of a lot of damage. Muster Guard, at the end of your movement range, each friendly courtier can spend 1 of their noble deed points. In return, 1 slave model to friendly serf units, that's been 10. 2 of their noble deed points to return 1 slave model to a friendly knights unit. So it's really just where you used to be able to bring a certain amount of Crypt Ghouls back, you now have to spend your noble deed points to do so. Summon loyal subjects. At the end of your movement phase, each friendly aberrant can spend 6 of their noble deed points to summon loyal subjects. If they do so, pick 1 friendly serf or knight unit that has been destroyed and add a new replacement unit identical to the unit in your army with half of the models. It doesn't say here that battlefield, so they may be set up within 6 inches of the edge or 9 inches from an enemy unit. Each destroyed unit can only be replaced once. Replacement units cannot themselves be replaced. So you can't constantly keep chewing them back, but you can bring them back half. So really, if you spent, I don't know, half of your army, 1,000 points of either knights or serfs, you actually potentially could get an extra 500 points because you can bring them back again at half strength, which is quite cool. Could be quite dirty, especially when people think they're, they're on top of it and you're aggravating them for things like objectives. And then Court of Delusions, obviously warped by their delusions, seeing the worst slaughter as feats of high chivalry. In the first battle round, after the player have received their starting command points, but before the start of the first turn, you can pick one of the following delusions to apply during the battle. So you can have a Royal Hunt, which is add 1 wound roll for attacks made by friendly flesh-eater claws units that target a monster. Crusading Army, which is add 1 to run rolls. Defenders of the Realm, which is add 1 to save rolls for friendly flesh courts. That could be good, especially if you're running into blocks and you don't want to lose them that quickly. The Grand Tournament, add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by friendly flesh-eater courts heroes that are not a general, if they made a charge move. And then the Feast Day, the Feeding Frenzy ability, which is the one here that if they've got the 6 noble D points, they do get an extra attack. Applies to each friendly flesh-eater courts units while they are held within 12 inches of any friendly heroes that have 4 or more. So in actual fact, you can lower that requirement, which is quite cool. And then heroic actions, there's Delusions of Grandeur, Rousing Oration. Pick 1 friendly flesh-eater courts hero and roll a dice for each other friendly flesh-eater courts unit, hold within 12 inches of that hero. For each 5, give 1 noble D points to that hero. So if you keep everything bunched together, which can be a bit of a double-edged sword, could be quite dangerous, you could potentially get a lot of extra D points. And then the Scent of Blood, which is pick 1 friendly flesh-eater courts hero, roll a dice on a 3-up. You can make a D6 move with that hero, but it must finish that move more than 3 inches from all enemy units. So it's a little bit of boost of speed. These guys can be quite quick, which is quite cool. But I don't necessarily think that's going to be too much of a problem. And then you've got your monstrous rampages, the delectable appetizers. Pick 1 enemy unit that has a wounds characteristics of 2 or less and is within 3 inches of this unit, and roll a dice on a 3, and that enemy unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. Then for each mortal wound that was caused that enemy unit and not negated, this unit heals. So literally you're causing mortal wounds to heal your own. And then Blood Curdling Shriek. Pick 1 enemy unit within 3 inches of this unit and roll a dice on a 3-up. Subtract 2 from the bravery characteristics of the enemy unit at the end of the turn. So fairly straightforward there for the army rules. Not too much, not too little. I think it's quite manageable. I always tend to forget stuff like this. And I said before, I think this is kind of like been redesigned quite cleverly as almost like a really good entry point and good starter army, especially to death. If you're interested in death and you're kind of on the fence, do check out the Flesh-Eater Courts. Literally, don't just watch this and go, oh yeah, but honestly, go and check, ask about them. I think they're a really, really cool faction. Then you've got your enhancements. We saw these. You get the nice cards that come with the box. Once again, video. These are if your general is an aberrant, if it's a courtier, if it's an aberrant hero or a courtier hero. Your artifacts and enhancements. There's some cool ones. The aberrant here has the Feverish Scholar. Add 1 to casting rolls, dispelling rolls, and unbinding rolls for this general. If this general has 6 noble D points, add 2 to casting rolls, dispelling rolls, and unbinding rolls. So if you are making an aberrant general and he's at 6 noble D points, you can actually unbind 2 each way, which is quite nice. And then when using the summon loyal subjects battle trait, you can pick 1 freshly flesh-eater courts monster, which is the master of the menagerie. So effectively, just set up a terrorist or something, which I think is quite a dirty one, actually. I'd hate that to show up in the middle of a fight and just kind of plonk itself down and ruin everything. The Courtier, once again, stronger in madness, 2 to his general's wound characteristics. While this general has 6 noble D points, they have a ward 5 up, which is quite good. Savage Beyond Reason is another really good one. If the unmodified hit roll for an attack made with a melee weapon by this general is 6, that attack scores 2 hits on the target instead of 1. If this general has 6 noble D points, that attack scores 3 hits on the target instead of 2. Get lucky with some 6s. And some of these, especially Courtiers, they have a lot of, you know, potential to do damage. That could be quite nasty. Cruel Taskmaster was quite a good one as well. If this general uses the Muster Guard ability to return models to a unit, reduce the noble D's cost of each returned model by 1, or if the cost was already 1, you can bring back 1 additional model instead, so you can actually bring back an extra 1, which is quite cool. As for artifacts, it is a little bit limited. Heroes, the Grim Garland, subtract 2 from Bravery, enemy units within 9 inches. The Blood River Chalice. Once per battle in the hero phase, the bearer can use this artifact. If they do, heal up to 2d3 wounds. Could be good. Snake Eyes, could be quite bad. Heart of the Gargant. Once per battle at the start of the combat phase, this bearer can use his artifact. If they do so, add 1 to the attacks characteristics of melee weapons used by the bearer. If you have got a very hard-hitting aberrant hero, this would be a very good one. Especially if you're going in there to try and get those noble D points. This is the type of thing you want. Medal of Madness. Once per battle round, the bearer can issue a command without a command point being spent. That's quite a good one. Especially if you're clutching at straws. The Flayed Pennant. You can reroll charge rolls for friendly Fleshy Courts units while they're holding within 12 inches of the bearer. Could be good. And then the Charnel Vestment, which is the quarter. You actually gain the Priest keyword, which is quite cool. Spell laws, there's a few of them. Miasmal Shroud. It's a casting value of 6 and a range of 18. If successfully cast, pick 1 enemy unit within range and visible to the caster and roll 6 dice. If 2 or more dice share the same value, so 2 2s, 2 3s, 2 4s, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound. If 3 or more dice share the same value, subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by that unit until your next hero phase. If 4 or more dice share the same value, subtract 1 from wound rolls for attacks made by that unit until your next hero phase. If the casting roll was 10 or more, roll 8 dice instead of 6. So if you do well, you actually get a couple of extra dice, which is quite cool. I don't think if you were really lucky and you got maybe 4 4s and 4 5s, I don't think you get the bonus twice. So could be good, but Deranged Transformation is a spell that has a casting value of 6. If successful, cast, pick 1 friendly Fleshy Quartz unit. Wholly in range and visible to the caster, has a wounds characteristic of 7 or less until your next hero phase. Add 2 inches that unit's move characteristics and 1 to the wounds roll for attacks made by that unit. If the casting roll was 10 or more, you can pick up to 3 different friendly units to be affected by the spell instead of 1. That could be a really good one, especially if you're extra wound rolls, definitely. And then the Crimson Victuals. Crimson Victuals is a spell that has a casting value of 6 and a range of 18. If cast, pick 1 enemy unit within range of the caster and a friendly Flesh Eater Quartz units. Until that has a wound characteristic of 1 and is within 6 inches of that enemy unit, the enemy unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. Then, for each mortal wound that was caused to the enemy unit and not negated, you can return 1 slain model. So once again, this is effectively doing damage to get stuff back. Once again, the casting roll was 10 or more, the enemy unit suffers 2 D3 mortal wounds instead of D3 mortal wounds. So you don't get any more units back, but you obviously do get, you know, a chance to do enemy units. You can return 1 slain model. Oh, so for each mortal wound, so you could actually, because it doesn't say that you can't, all it says is that D3 mortal wounds, then for each wound that was caused to the enemy unit and not negated, you can turn 1. So if you got D3 and you get 3, you get 3 models back. If the casting roll was 10, the enemy suffers 2 D3. So if you've got 6, you get 6 back. It doesn't say, you know, it's a maximum of 3 or whatever. So once again, a good way of getting some units back, which is quite good. And then you've got prayers, mount traits. These are quite, fairly straightforward. Bless's Mill has an answer value of 3 and a range of 18. If answered, pick one enemy unit within range that is visible to the chanter. Each time a model from that enemy unit is slain, you can heal 1 wound allocated to one Flesh-Eater Quartz unit within 6 inches of the enemy units. So it's a good way of taking damage against something and just re-healing. This would be good if you've got something like Crypt Horrors or something like that do have a few more wounds than your normal Crypt Ghouls and things like that. So definitely one to, once again, big chunks of squads would be a good one. Summer King's Favour is a prayer that has an answer value of 3 and a range of 18. If answered, pick one friendly Flesh-Eater Quartz hero, wholly within the unit range, wholly within the range and visible to the chanter until your next hero phase. The hero gains 1 additional noble deed point each time they slay an enemy model. So could be good if you're trying to clutch at swords and you want to get those 6 noble deed points. Could be a nice little last ditch effort there. And then Charnel Conviction is a prayer that has an answer value of 3 and a range of 18. If answered, pick one friendly unit, wholly within range and visible to chanter, has a ward of 5 up. Once again, could be good, especially if you've got a big block of something, which is great. Mount traits. You can improve the Ren characteristics of this unit's pestilential breath. This one is for the zombie dragon only. Instead of setting up this unit on the battlefield, you can place it to one side and say that it's soaring in the skies, and you just get to plonk it down more than 9 inches from an enemy unit. And then you've got the add 1 to hit rolls for friendly Flesh-Eater Quartz monsters while they are wholly within 12 inches of this unit. And then your Terrorgeese, he has the Gruesome Bite, which is add 1 to the attack's characteristics of his unit's Fanged Maw, which is good because that's dirty damage. This unit's Royal Blood ability heals up to 2d3 instead of d3, which is good because of the limited wounds, and it is going to take a few back because their save is a little bit on the weaker side. And then this unit can retreat and still charge later in the turn, which is the Morbeg Swiftness, which is a really, really good one. It's a great way of really messing someone up. Your Grand Courts and what they come with, your Morgants, give 1 noble deed point to each friendly Morgant Flesh-Eater Quartz hero at the end of the turn if the hero is contesting an objective. This is great if you are on objectives. If you're just going at each other, maybe not so much. Hollowmorn, add 1 to the damage characteristics of melee weapons used by friendly Hollowmorn Knights. Units that have made a charge move in the same turn, this ability has no effect on attacks made by mounts. So your mounts don't get the bonus, but your damages do. Could be a good one if you've got, if you go for Knights, it'll be things like your Crypt Ghouls and things like that. Ghouls, Horrors, sorry, you want someone with a club, or obviously once again Morbeg Knights. Blister Skin, friendly aberrants gain the Priest keyword, but they cannot cast spells and chant prayers in the same hero phase. I'm not too sure about that one. Could be good. It's nice to have one or the other. It opens up a lot of options as well if you're being a bit more, I guess, buffing your units. And in Gristlegore, at the start of your combat phase, you can pick 1 friendly Gristlegore monster on the battlefield. The strike first effect applies to the monster until the end of the phase. You've got a Terrorgeese on there, it's fighting first. Terrorgeese at full health, anyone will tell you, can do dirty damage. So this is the Path to Glory. I'm not going to go into this as I've never really done it. However, it seems like it covers a lot of, if they took part in battles, if they didn't take part in battles. I've got to admit, I don't really understand the Path to Glory stuff as I've never really done it, but it does give you little quests on how to recruit new subjects, mounts and things like that, which is cool. I just don't know enough about it. So if you do want me to cover this section, comment now and I'll read it out. But once again, I don't really understand it. Territories and stuff like that. Yeah, great, cool, nice. There is a battle plan in here, a Gargantuan bounty, which is just setting up in the middle here. Once again, I never do these. I never do the battle plans that come in the books. So here you've got your little battalions and, you know, some of the abilities they get for the Cannibal Court, the organisation that they have, the royal family. What was the one that I quite liked? I quite liked the Abattoir. I like the King's Ghouls as well, and obviously the Royal Menagerie, which is just 3 or more Terror Grease or Royal Zombie Dragons. Each of the War Scar battalions on these pages has access to the following ability. So if you are going to take a battalion, at the end of the combat phase, roll a dice for each enemy unit within 3 inches of any friendly units in this battalion. On a 4-up, that enemy just suffers D3 mortal wounds, which is cool. And this is, it's called the body part acquisition. So they've probably just nicked the leg off some poor soldier, which I think is quite cool. So obviously it does make up quite a bit, but it's nice to have these as obviously getting a little bit bonus, a little bit of perk, especially if you're running something like, you know, the King's Schools or a Menagerie. It's just nice to have that little option there. So match play, boo, and then we can go over to the data sheet. Now the first thing you notice is Nagash. Nagash is here. Hey, this is Nagash's War Scroll. Once again, I'm not going to cover him too much. This isn't a Night Haunt or Legions of Nagash video. Once again, he's dirty. He always has been. He's got, you know, a 3-up save, 18 wounds. He can cast up to 8 spells because he's an absolute beast. And he's just got a lot to him. This is why we're here, is Usharan. Now he has 16 wounds, he's got 10 inches, he's got a 4-up save. 2 melee weapons, which is the Scepter of the Carrion King, which is the kind of scepter that he cradles in his arm there. 3 attacks, 3 to hit, 2 to wound, -2 rend, D3 +3. So even if you fudge everything, you're still going to do a little bit of damage, which is quite nice. Then his monstrous claws and fangs. Sorry, I don't know what's up with me today. Attacks, he gets 10 attacks at full health, and has done all the way until he attacks, until he suffers 7 wounds. 3 to hit, 3 to wound, -1 rend, 2 damage apiece. I don't think that's too bad. Definitely a bit of a it can be a heavy hitter, although he is a wizard. He does have the wizard keyword. Now we've got something here called the Epicenter of Delusion, and this is one of his abilities here. If this unit is part of a Flesh Eater Court's army, in your hero phase, you can pick 1 delusion from the Courts of Delusion's battle trait. Until your next hero phase, that delusion applies to friendly Flesh Eater Court's units while they're wholly within the epicenter of delusion. So in actual fact, rather than just being in the standard 12 inches, if he's in your army, you get a 30-inch radius around him of those getting that. So it's great. So you'll probably get an army-wide battle trait here by using that. And obviously it does shrink a little bit as he takes more and more wounds. The Carrion King. While this unit has 6 noble deed points, friendly Flesh Eater Courts units are affected by the Feeding Frenzy battle trait while they are wholly within 24 instead of 12 inches. Once again, pushing those auras out, pushing those abilities on things. He's going to be a great piece to really, if you're running buffs and you're running, you know, a really aggravating play style, he's going to be a really good unit to have. The Shroud Cage Fragment. At the start of the combat phase, subtract 1 from the bravery characteristic of enemy units within 3 inches of this unit, and at the end of the battle, roll 2d6 for each enemy unit within 1 inch of this unit. So if you are in combat with him or you're that close to him, if the result is higher than the bravery characteristics of that unit, the strike last effect applies to that unit, which means if you've got a big squad of them there and it does affect them, they could potentially go last, which gives you a really good opportunity to go and wreck that unit, especially big damage dealing ones that, you know, you think they're going to really lay the wounds on him. He is only a 4-up save, so he does have a ward of 5, so he'll never get any worse than that, but still I think 5, he's quite fragile, especially when I've seen with what things like my my Iron Guts can do in my Ogre Kingdom's army, stuff like that. You know, they can really do some damage. In addition, in your hero phase, you can heal up to 2 D3 wounds allocated to this unit. So bare minimum, you're going to get 2 wounds back. On a good day, you're going to get 6. And then the Glimpse of Delusion is a spell that has a casting value of 7 and a range of 18. If successfully cast, pick 1 enemy model within the range and visible to the caster. Pick 1 melee weapon that the enemy model is armed with, and pick 1 other enemy unit within range of that weapon. That enemy model immediately makes combat attacks with the weapon targeting the other enemy unit. So basically what you can do is you can make your opponents fight each other. Once again, that could be really, really devastating, especially if you've gone for their big heavy hitters and you are they're kind of closing down and taking out your units. That's when you move your blocks of crypt ghouls in, stuff like that, to really just, especially if you're running them in a battalion, the extra attack, you've taken the artifact, an extra wound, artifact, they're near a hero with the 6 noble deed points, they're going to get an extra attack. You've got a big swarm coming in here. Then these are slightly older scrolls. Obviously, I'm not going to go too much into these as I haven't had any questions yet, and we are 46 minutes in. Ghoul King on Zombie Dragon, great. Gormain, he's quite a cool one. Pick 1 enemy unit that is visible to this unit and roll a dice on a 3-up. Add 1 to wound rolls for attacks made by friendly flesh-eater courts. Once again, if you're running big blocks and you need to get rid of something, this is exactly what you need. Dishonorable conduct in battle is a good one as well, kind of keeps them a little bit. Pick 1 enemy unit that is visible to this unit and more than 3 inches from all friendly units. Roll a dice on a 3, plus the friendly flesh-eater courts units can charge even if they ran earlier in the turn, which is great. As long as they finish a charge, move within half an inch of the enemy unit. And then we've got the Gore Warden. He has the Winds of Shaiish spell. This is quite good. Has a casting value of 6 and a range of 9 inch. If successful cast, pick 1 friendly flesh-eater courts units that can fly and is wholly within range and visible to the caster. Remove this unit and the unit you pick from the battlefield and set them up again more than 9 inches. So you can literally pick them up, plonk them down on the other side of the battlefield. Considering he's got a 12-inch move and some of the other boys, things like Crypt Flayers are a good one. They can move 9 inches, is going to be no problem to kind of get you into combat. That is very cool. The Archregent we've seen, the Ghoul King we've already seen. The Cardinal, he can heal up to D3 wounds allocated to this unit for his Royal Blood, and Speak in Tongues, which is quite a good one. It is a prayer that has an answer value of 3 and a range of 18. If answered, pick 1 enemy unit within range and visible to the Chartner until your next hero fade. Roll a dice. Each time that enemy unit receives a command on a 4-up, that command has no effect. So basically you just completely waste command points there for other people, which once again is a great way of hindering people. The Marrow Scroll Herald, we've seen this guy, he's the one from Gerion's Derogation. He's fairly good in combat. 5 attacks, 3 to hit, 3 to wound, -1, 2 damage. However, if this unit is not visible, this unit is not visible to enemy models while it is wholly within 6 inches of 5 or more other friendly flesh-eater courts. So you put this next to a big group of something and no one can shoot him or do anything to him, which is cool. Once again, another great unit that can really aggravate people. Then we go over to, once again, my favourite, the Royal Decapitator. He's got his Headsman Axe, 3 attacks, 4 to hit, 3 to wound, -2, 3 damage. Quite dirty there. Off with their head is a great one. At the end of the combat phase, if any wounds caused by this unit Headsman Axe in that phase were allocated to an enemy hero and that enemy hero has not been slain, roll a dice. On a 5-up, that enemy hero is slain. So literally, you've only got to cause wounds to him, which is great. So it's kind of cool. And he does have the hero keyword as well, which is another good one. Give him some noble deed points. Once again, Cryptghast Courtiers. Those are the slightly bigger ones with the dude on that you can put in, and they're good. The Vargelf Courtier, once again, quite nasty. He's got his claws 5 attacks, 3 to hit, 3 to wounds, -1, 2 damage. There was something that I was reading. Oh, so he's the King's Champion, I think it was. At the start of the combat phase, you can say that this unit will use this ability. If you do so in the phase, you can add 2 to the attacks characteristics of this unit's melee weapons. But it can only target units that have a wound characteristics of 1 or 2. So in actual fact, you can get 7 attacks there, and 3 attacks with the dagger-like fangs, which are 3 to hit, 2 to wound, -2, 3 damage. So he can put out some damage. He's a 4-up save. He's got 8 wounds as well. It's 10 inches, so he's quite quick as well. Crypt Infernal Courtier, great. Crypt Haunt Courtier, which is the Crypt Horror dude. Then you've got your Crypt Guard. Once again, 2 attacks each, 3 to hit, 3 to wound, -1, 1 damage. Nice. Give him an extra attack. Put him in a block of 20, 60 attacks next to someone that's got, you know, noble deed points. A great way of doing it. The Morbeg Knights, once again, love these guys. They've got their lances, 2 attacks, 3 to hit, 3 to wounds, -1, 1 damage. And then the Claws and Teeth, 3 attacks, 3 to hit, 3 to wound, -1, 2 damage. They do have a Shrieking Charge, which is quite cool. After this unit makes a charge move, you can pick 1 enemy unit within 1 inch of this unit. The enemy unit cannot receive the Unleash Hell command in this phase. In addition, roll 1 dice for each model in this unit that is within 1 inch of the enemy unit. For each 4, that enemy unit suffers D3 more wounds. And he's also got the Predator's Pounce, so this unit can retreat and still charge in later turns, which is great. Pair that with a Terrorgeist on the Monstrous Rampage. Charge in, attack, retreat. You mess everyone up. These are really, really cool. They've only got 3 wounds. They're a 4-up save, but they do move 12 inches. Once again, they are incredibly, incredibly quick, which I really, really do like. Then you've got your normal Crypt Flayers. They haven't really changed much to me since the last Battletome. Your Crypt Horrors, once again, still quite good. I wish they had Rend. I don't understand why they don't have Rend. It's always annoyed me because they are your big hitters and were for a long while, which is a shame. Your normal Crypt Ghouls, these are your screening units. Chuck a load of them in here and then just bring another load of them back, which is great. You know, really aggravate, stick them on objectives, stick them near things just to whittle away. You know, I like the Crypt Ghouls. I think they're a cool crap unit, if that makes sense. Your Royal Beast Flayers, these are the Warcry guys. Once again, these have to come in a squad. They've got a few little abilities. While this unit includes any Offal Hounds, add 2 inches to the move characteristics of this unit, so they can actually move 8. Characteristics of this unit if it's within 18 inches of an enemy monster that have any wounds allocated to them. So if you've already started to whittle away at things and you need to get something else in combat, these could be quite good. I think so far the only one that really stands out, the Hunting Polearm. 2 attacks, 3 to hit, 3 to wound, -1, 3 damage. Once again, quite nasty. These are really, by the looks of it, designed to take down monsters. These are there to really aggravate monsters. The enemy monsters within 3 inches of his unit cannot carry out monstrous rampages. In addition, reduce the damage characteristics of weapons used by enemy monsters by 1 while they are within 3 inches of any friendly units with this ability to a minimum of 1. So they really do hinder your big boys, which are quite good to have, and they're quite reasonable point-wise as well. Then you've got your Terrorgeist and your Royal Dragon, just as is. Now, this is what I wanted to talk about way a little while ago when I said about the Morbeg Knights. I did have an issue with them. It's a shame that you can run Terrorgeist without the Ghoul Kings on. Zombie Dragons without the Ghoul, just like, you know, as a monster. It's a shame because of the way they go together. They just kind of sit on a little peg on top. To run these as just Night Shriekers would have been really good, of just having a quick, weak unit. Take a wound off for the, because Crypt Guard would only have 1 wound anyway. Put them down to 2 wounds. Give them a 5-up save. Let them move 12 and just give them their Claws and Teeth. And you know what? You could have had another option for another unit. It seems a little bit, and it's one of the only gripes I have with the new profiles and just it was there, it was right there. Why didn't you just, don't build them with a rider on, give them a bit of a points reduction and let them just, you know, run. Would have been good. To be fair, even if they reduced the movement by a couple of inches, it wouldn't have bothered me too much, but having the option to run the Night Shriekers with the Terror Geese in their own little squad of just bats, I think would have been really, really cool. And you would have seen a lot of people just doing bat armies, which I'm very much here for. We've seen the Terror Guys before, we've seen the Royal Zombie Dragons before, so I'm not going to go over that. They are still incredibly, incredibly dirty. Fanged Maw, 3 attacks, 40 free to win, -2 d6 damage. Wow. And then your Skeletal Talons, 7 attacks, 40 hit, 3 to wounds, -1, 2 damage. And obviously they do still have their Death Shriek. Do not use the attack sequence for an attack made with this unit's Death Shriek. Instead, roll a dice and add the Death Shriek value shown. So starting at full health is 6. If the total is higher than the target's unit's bravery characteristics, the target unit suffers a number of mortal wounds equal to the difference between its bravery characteristics and the total. So if you roll a 6 and you add a 6 onto it, you got 12. Most things are like bravery like 8 or 7. You're going to do like 5 mortal wounds to it straight away, which is good. The Gaping Maw, once again, is an ability. If the unmodified hit roll for an attack made with this unit's Fanged Maw is a 6, the target suffers 6 mortal wounds and the attack sequence ends. So you roll a couple of 6s with the Maw and it's flat 6. That's it. And before it's removed, it explodes. And if you are within 3 inches, D3. So very, very cool. And that's really about it for the Flesh Eater Court's Battletome. You do have your endless spells here, which I'm not going to go into. They haven't changed much. And your scenery pieces, the Charnel Throne, cool. It just adds D3 Noble D points to any friendly Flesh Eater Court's hero. Also garrison it as well. And then we can move over to the points and we'll have a quick look at those. Crypt Ghouls, a max unit size 20, 160 points. Once again, if you're taking a load of these, you know, it's going to be, you could take, so, let's do some quick maths. My God, if you said 150, so that'd be 60. You could take 120 of these and have over 1,000 points left, and then you'd get 500 M back when you brought them all back anyway. Royal Terror Geist 315, Royal Zombie Dragon 310, Nagash a whopping 965 points, but I fought against Nagash with many a force and he's always kind of got one over me. Usharan is 460 points, not that bad if you ask me. I do think he's a little bit pricey. Would have liked to seen it dropped a little bit more, but you know, he's new and it always happens, so we'll see. Ghoul King 450 on a Terror Geist, 440 on a Zombie Dragon. Then the Archregent 150, Cardinal 120, Ghoul King 130, Gore Warden 150, which is the new Flappy Boy. Cryptghast Courtier is 100, Cryptghast Haunter 140, Crypt Infernal 145, Grand Justice Gourmet is 140, the Marrow Scroll Herald is 100. Once again, that's the Jerian dude. Royal Decapitator 100. To me, it's really, really good, considering as long as he wounds a hero, he could then kill it, which I think is great. Vargelf Courtier 165. Once again, to me, that seems a little bit low, considering just how much they can do and the speed that they can put out damage. Crypt Flayers 160, Crypt Horrors 130, Crypt Guard 140. Those are the ones with slight armor and extra attack. Kind of cool. They've also got a little bit of rend. Once again, big block of those. They can only be running 10s though. Still not bad. The Morbeg Knights, 150 points for the free. Once again, I think that's cool. They actually become battle line if you take a Gore Warden, which is quite cool. Now, it's just noticed I have just seen there. Oh yeah, Terror Geese are actually battle line if you run a Gristlegore, which is great because, like me, if you're going for monsters, just run Gristlegore. Fantastic. And then your endless spells, 20, 50, 60, and the Charnel Throne is free. The only allies they can take are Soulblight Gravelords. And that is it. That is the Flesh Eater Courts Battletome. Dirty, dirty, dirty tactics in there. Lots of ways to aggravate your opponent. Lots of ways to put out lots of damage, which is great. I like them. I think they're great. I think they've got a great tragic story. I think they're a good faction. I like what they've done with them, not only from a lore perspective, from a thematic perspective, so not only the new models look great, and I like the way they've kind of, feels like they've injected quite a lot of life into these again, which is great. I'm looking forward to painting some more up in the near future. So there we go. That's it. I wanted to do one of these for a while where I go through the Battletome. I like stuff like this. It's also a good opportunity for me to kind of sit down, have a good look through, you know, and find out what I'm doing with it and stuff like that, which is great. I've kind of got an idea now of what I want to add a little bit more. I'm reading this out thinking, oh, actually. So it is very, very cool. Flesh Eater Courts. If you pre-ordered them, if you're going in with them, enjoy them. I hope you have a fantastic time with them. They really are a great faction. I love their tragic story a lot. And that's it from me in this one. There's not going to be a video this weekend for those that are still here or watch the whole thing. God bless you. My God, that's a lot of talking. As we are coming up to the Christmas break here as well. There probably will be a video coming out. I've got some big things planned next year as well, which is really, really nice. There will be a video out by the end of the year though, so don't worry. This isn't the tally-ho and whatever for this year, but it is for this week. Unfortunately, there'll be service as usual next week. But look, that's it from me in this one. Thanks again for sticking around, watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you like Flesh Eater Courts. I do absolutely love them. I'm looking forward to painting more of them up, seeing what people do on social media. I'll leave a link to the video in the description and the pinned comments below. Thanks again to everyone. I'll see you all next time. God bless and take care.